A lot of news to cover, so I'm going to get into it. First of all, this is from Nick Humphrey's page, and I'm going to follow up a little bit um, with the article. But anyways, just to give you an overview, on April 27th, the temperature in Tokmak, Kyrgyzstan reached 95 degrees Fahrenheit or 35.1. That's on April 27th. That's awful warm for a spring day. Anywhere in the northern hemisphere. Aiding Lake in China, the temperature got to 110 degrees. Can anybody say extreme heat or global warming or extreme temperatures? Yes. In Siberia, Russia, having its hottest April on record on April 25th, the temperature got to almost 90 degrees. Quite high. And what I saw in the early chats, Raza was saying that London is warm. Yeah, I'd say 80 degrees is pretty warm for mid-May or late May, right? I mean, that's 80 degrees is like a high summer temperature, right? In the middle of summer. Isn't that a high August temperature? Yeah, it's rather insane. No representation. Come on, man. Come on. I try to stay at least cleaner than my dog. So that's saying something. So anyways, moving on. Well, let's look at this article a little bit. Siberia experiences hottest spring on record, fueling wildfires. In April, many parts of Asia, including Siberia, experienced record heat, which led to wildfires in Russia's northernmost region. Experts are concerned about the early start of the fire season in Siberia. The fires, which are likely fueled by climate change, all right, you gave us that much, thank you, could release more carbon dioxide into the air, which generates further warming, experts say. The more immediate threat is the health risk that the smoke from the fires pose to people, particularly when combined with the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, everything goes better with COVID. You like my commercial? A few hundred miles south of the Arctic Circle, the small town of Boguchany, Siberia, had its hottest April on record. Okay, so I think I already read these parts in the post. Anyways, yes, we have been covering this. This is an ongoing situation that we are staying on top of. Yet another ongoing situation or extreme weather situation, which people are watching from all sides. Cyclone Amphan slams into India and Bangladesh as millions attempt to escape. So I saw that it got downgraded, by one category unit to Category 4, but I think that's still pretty high, Category 4 cyclone. Cyclone Amphan, the strongest storm ever recorded in the Bay of Bengal, made landfall along the coasts of India and Bangladesh on Wednesday, producing winds as high as 165 miles per hour and waves surging up to 16 feet, and forcing nearly 3 million people to evacuate their homes. 3 million people. Cyclone's outer wall reached land over eastern India at approximately 2:30 p.m. local time Wednesday near the Indian city of Kolkata, which is home to approximately 14 million people. The landfall process, delivering extensive rain and wind gusts, is expected to last about 4 hours. Landfall officially occurs when half of the storm center is over land. Amphan was classified as a super cyclone on Tuesday, but weakened as it approached land, yet it remains extremely powerful with the capability to deliver immense damage. Its cloud field is 1,740 miles long from tip to tail and has the potential to deliver storm surges higher than 16 feet. Good Lord, that could result in catastrophic flooding in the low-lying coastal areas in the Bengal region, according to the U.S. Pacific Disaster Center. Around 33.6 million people in India could be exposed to the storm's powerful winds, with up to another 8 million in Bangladesh potentially in its pathway. Efforts to evacuate citizens have been significantly compromised by the coronavirus outbreak, which has forced tens of thousands of migrant workers to flee cities for villages. Amphan doing a lot of damage, but rather large news out of Michigan. So this is actually, kind of the big news of the day. Some dams collapsed in Michigan floods, evacuations after Edenville and Sanford dams collapsed. So they're having huge flood issues in Michigan, which is kind of a repeat of last year, or beginning to look like a repeat of last year, that were all over the Midwest. There were insane amounts of flooding and a lot of damage done for months. This went on for months. There were flood situations that went on, I think in some places, for most of the summer. But they've had heavy rains and I'm sure runoff from melting snow. About 10,000 residents have been evacuated in the U.S. state of Michigan after 2 dams collapsed following days of heavy rain, officials said. The National Weather Service issued a flash flood emergency for areas near the Tittabawassee River after the Edenville and Sanford dams burst. Parts of Midland, a city some 140 miles something of Detroit, I don't know if that's west, north, east, or south, could be under 9 feet of water. Where is Midland? Where is, hold on. Say that's, where is that? As opposed to Detroit, where is that? I can't even really tell on this map. Anyways, Dow Chemical Company, which is based in the city, has set up emergency steps. Governor Gretchen Whitmer declared a state of emergency for Midland County in mid-Michigan after the dams collapsed on Tuesday and said the city of Midland, of population of more than 40,000, could see historic high water level. This is unlike anything we've seen in Midland County. Ms. Whitmer said at a news conference, to go through this in the midst of a global pandemic is almost unthinkable. Well, get ready for climate change, because climate change really doesn't care about your little pandemic problem. Climate change is like, I see your problem and I raise you. Michigan National Guard has been assisting in the response, the governor said. The evacuation orders include parts of Midland, Edenville, and Sanford. National Weather Service said this was an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation, with the Tittabawassee River expected to crest at a record of 38 feet by Wednesday morning local time. In a statement, Dow said it had activated its flood preparedness plan, which includes the safe shutdown of operating units. Only essential staff needed to monitor the situation and manage any issues remained on site. Where am I? Oh, which sits on the Midlands riverbank, the company added. Built in 1924, the Edenville Dam was rated in unsatisfactory condition by the state in 2018. While the Sanford Dam, which was built in 1925, was given a fair condition rating, the Associated Press news agency reports it said both dams were in the process of being sold. Trump is expected to visit Michigan on Thursday to tour a Ford plant that is manufacturing ventilators to help in the response to the coronavirus. Ms. Whitmer has not been invited to attend the event. Oh, Lordy. Has criticized the Trump administration's handling of the crisis. Petty. The visit is technically a violation of the restrictions imposed by the governor to curb the spread of the virus in Michigan, which has been hit hard with more than 50,000 confirmed cases and 5,000 deaths. But a spokesman said she would not try to block the visit. Huh? Okay. Okay. All right. Fairly wild stuff. In regards to this, I found this to be a little confusing, and help me out if you find this confusing too. This is Brian Kahn, who actually wrote the article that I read yesterday about the Arctic. I believe it's the same Brian Kahn. The dam disaster is the latest unfortunate reminder our infrastructure is not ready for climate change, and also that a stimulus focused on investing and upgrading said infrastructure for climate change is a no-brainer. Well, is it a no-brainer? Maybe rebuilding the infrastructure, in the face of extreme weather events is a no-brainer, as in absolutely stupid. Why is it that, what we deem important to our lives in our current industrial civilization, it is all important and must be saved and rebuilt and rejiggered and reconfigured and redone. And I don't, this is kind of the Green New Deal thinking. Whereas if we just, if we spend trillions of dollars updating our infrastructure, then we'll be saved from climate change. I had lots of responses to this, which I haven't actually put into writing yet. But it's bizarre to me. It's a knee jerk, hence the title of this video. It's a knee jerk response to climate change that doesn't make any sense. It's like, let's build a seawall out in the Hudson Bay. Let's the entire ocean is rising, so let's build a big wall to save our cities. Like, okay, does that make any sense? Hey guys, I'm gonna refresh my browser. Well, maybe that'll mess my video up. Maybe I won't refresh my browser. Anyways, keep liking the video, guys, if you can. I appreciate it if you can do that. Troy McDermott, infrastructure takes people, which takes money. Yeah, I mean, it's just like this knee-jerk kind of reaction of like, well, of course we have to rebuild our infrastructure in the face of climate change. It's like kind of the dumbest response. So the most no-brainer response to this disaster is like, we must rebuild these dams. Like, at which point are you going to realize that climate change is inevitable? It's only getting worse. How many times are you going to rebuild a dam, or rebuild your infrastructure, or build seawalls, or, whatever it might be? Is there a point in time in which humans might be urged to retreat from the areas in which they live? Like if you live in a floodplain, maybe the idea might be to get out of the floodplain. Sorry, take an L. Take an L and get out of the floodplain. If you live in Miami or New York or a huge city, one is closer to being inundated by seawater than the other, but maybe take that L and, set up shop somewhere else. New Orleans, take an L, set up shop somewhere else. It's this insistence. It's a damn problem, indeed, firecracker. The insistence that human supremacy must be saved and rebuilt and propped up at all costs, all the time. I don't know. I thought the article he wrote yesterday was pretty good, but this shows like a serious lack of foresight, deep understanding of the problem and the future that this problem will cause us to have. I just don't understand. Anyways, this, it's a terrible situation that Michiganders are being flooded out. It really sucks. I know this is bad. You know, I hope that everybody there is taking measures and that they're okay. But, you know, climate change is happening. It's right now. And, you know, 100-year flood events and 500-year flood events and 1,000-year flood events are starting to happen every single year. So do you think rebuilding a dam is going to make the actual, you know, extreme weather event of climate change, these weather events that it's causing, is it going to make that go away? At what point do you stop rebuilding or stop entrenching humans where they are? We must, you know, entrench where we are and just stay here. We can't go anywhere else. We can't do anything else. It's extremely speciesist. It's human supremacy at the highest level. Let it go. Give it up. Move out of the floodplain. These floods are here to stay. They're happening every single year. They're going to happen every year. If you live in a floodplain or if you live close to a floodplain, the wise thing to do, the smart thing to do would be to move out of the floodplain. Let it go. Give up the goose. Figure something else out. Climate change is not going away. It's not going to have a recess. It's not going to, you know, if you believe the science, if you follow scientists, if you follow this, you know, the empirical evidence of climate change, then you know what's happening. You have to see what is happening. I don't know. But, you know, humans are going to have to deal with the fact that, you know, we're not entitled to live the way we live, to continue growing the way we grow, to continue using the resources that we use. We are not entitled to that. Nature is really angry over this. Mother Nature is very upset, and she doesn't care about whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. She doesn't care about whether or not you feel like it's okay to talk about this. You know, she doesn't care about your political stance or, you know, your civility politics, any of that. She does not care. So you're going to have to wake up and grow up and figure out how we're going to deal with this in a real way, in a substantive way. Yes. Anyways, I wanted to get back into some more climate change news. Lockdowns trigger dramatic fall in global carbon emissions. Well, that's good news. I mean, for how long is the question. Responses to coronavirus crisis caused sharpest drop in carbon output since records began. Steep fall in emissions during coronavirus is no cause for celebration. Indeed, etc. Carbon dioxide emissions have fallen dramatically since lockdowns were imposed around the world due to the coronavirus crisis. Research has shown daily emissions of the greenhouse gas plunged 17% by early April, compared with 2019 levels, according to the first definitive study of global carbon output this year. The findings show the world has experienced the sharpest drop in carbon output since records began. Whoa, so are you saying that we might actually be doing something along the lines of taking drastic action to fight climate change or lower our emissions? Are we actually doing that? Is that what we're doing right now? With large sections of the global economy brought to a near standstill, when the lockdown was at its most stringent, in some countries emissions fell by just over a quarter, 26% on average. In the UK, the decline was about 31%, while in Australia emissions fell 28.3% for a period during April. 28.3%, that's pretty good. This is really a really big fall, but at the same time, 83% of global emissions are left, which shows how difficult it is to reduce emissions with changes in behavior. Said Corinne Lacarre, a professor of climate change at the University of East Anglia and lead author of the study published in the journal Nature Climate Change. And it is not desirable. This is not the way to tackle climate change. The unprecedented fall is likely to be only temporary as countries slowly get back to normal activity over the course of the year. The annual decline is likely to be only about 7%. If some restrictions to halt the virus remain in place, however, they are lifted in mid-June. If they are lifted in mid-June, the fall for the year is likely to be only 4%. That would still represent the biggest annual drop in emissions since the Second World War. Pretty good, pretty good. And a stark difference compared with recent trends as emissions have been rising by about 1% annually. But it would make a negligible impact on the Paris Agreement goals, like Curie said. Emissions must fall to net zero by mid-century? Are you sure about that? Golly, I hope they make it. I hope we make it. Mid-century or soon after to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement and keep global heating from reaching catastrophic levels. Wait a minute. I see catastrophes happening everywhere right now. Are they at catastrophic levels right now? Could they be? Golly, I hope not. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the fall in carbon resulting from the COVID-19 crisis reveals how far the world still has to go. But it also reveals the fact that we could actually do something if we, if we told people there was a problem on national television, if we made it seem like an emergency on national television, if we had the full force of the government behind actions to curb emissions and or the effects of climate change, golly, do you think we could actually do something? The experience of the crisis so far has shown that changes in behavior by individuals, such as flying, working from home, and driving less, can only go part of the way. But they're going some of the way that we're not even going, ever, at any other time. So, as even the lockdown measures left the bulk of emission sources intact, we could also go ahead and tackle those too. She said, adding that bigger shifts are needed to the way people produce and use it. No, bigger shifts are needed in the way people consume energy, consume resources, the way people produce and use energy. Liar. 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 This is all some old feel-good Green New Deal stuff right here. Just behavioral change is not enough, she said. We need structural change. You mean like rebuilding our infrastructure? We need to rebuild our infrastructure so we can stay here doing what we're doing. Is that what you're trying to say? But if we take this opportunity to put structural changes in place, we have now seen what is possible to achieve. I say maybe take some infrastructure out, or let the infrastructure go, and change our behaviors, and change how we live, and change how we consume. And go ahead and let people know that that's okay if you want to do that. If you want to stop buying all the things, that's okay. Emissions from aviation showed a dramatic decline of about 60% as international flights between many countries were grounded. Emissions from surface transport fell less sharply by about 36%. Power generation and industry accounted for about 86% of the total decline in emissions. Despite such an unprecedented fall, the impacts on the climate are likely to be small. Stocks of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which reached 414, we'll go ahead and say 418 parts per million this year, will rise further towards the danger threshold of, the danger threshold is now 450 this year, though perhaps at a slightly slower pace. Actually, if this person was looking at the evidence, carbon dioxide accumulations in the atmosphere are still rising at the same rate. They haven't slowed. They have not slowed. So the danger threshold is now 450. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was 350. When is it going to be 550? When is it going to be 2,000? Do I hear 2,000? Anybody? Anybody? Okay, I've had enough of this article. I'm becoming very angry. Guys, continue to like the video. Thank you so much. Going South says, tell your older relatives you're grounded. Um, Anthony Davis, if we all leave and give America back to the remaining indigenous Indians, that would be divine. That would be divine. Where are we going to go? Where would we go? Would we all crowd into? I mean, I don't know. It's a. Where would we go? I mean, I don't know. That's complicated. Complicated question, because if you're saying white people all go back to England, are we all from England? Are we all from Greece? Are we all from Germany? Are we all from, where are we from? Everybody's mixed up. Everybody's had babies with everybody else. I would like industrial civilization to leave, and then maybe we can figure out how to, reduce the impacts of industrial civilization, and maybe we can, maybe we could treat indigenous people that are here, a whole lot better. Like if we remove the pipelines from their land, if we let them have their lands back, that might be a good place to start. Kuro Hikes will go live in a van down by the river. Indeed. I mean, just like where are we gonna go? That's a weird, it's a weird thing. Everybody is everywhere. Everybody is all over the planet, and there's no home. People are where they are. I don't know. Anyways, however, I think that we should leave indigenous peoples the hell alone and let them be on their land peacefully. Let them live how they live peacefully. Let's all move to Hawaii, says Firecracker. Okay. Kuro says, I'm not going back to Africa. We all speak English. I know, but I'm not from England. I'm from Pasadena, bro. Like I was born here. Where would I go? I'm not going back to anywhere. Going back would be to like walk down the street to where I lived when I was a little kid. I don't know. Get above future ocean height. Now that's a good idea. Bullet rope lampposts. Get out of the floodplains and get away from the coasts. Anthony Davis, we're all mixed races, so that means we probably have herd immunity to COVID. Maybe so. Maybe so. Anyways, let's move on. Well, speaking of zero emissions by mid-century, Spain unveils climate law to cut emissions to net zero by 2050. Well, I mean, I guess we could cheer this and applaud this. They have a law. It's in the books. They've recognized that climate change is a serious thing, so they're going to do serious things about it. 2050 seems a little late to me, though. A little bit late. But they're trying. I'd feel a lot better if they were saying 2035 or 2030 or 2025. But anyways, the government hopes the draft law, which would ban, it's a draft law. So they unveil a law. It's not law yet. Nobody's passed it. Nobody's adopted it. It would ban all new coal, oil, and gas projects with immediate effect. Will shape the recovery effort to COVID-19. Spanish government is due to present an ambitious draft law to cut the country's carbon emissions to net zero by 2050 to Parliament on Tuesday. Spain joins a handful of countries to have set out a legal binding strategy to end their contribution to global heating in the next 30 years. The draft text, which follows a public consultation started in February 2019, sets the direction of economic recovery from the coronavirus pandemic. We would like to have presented this law on other conditions several weeks ago, said Spain's Vice President Teresa Ribera, who serves as the Minister for the Ecological Transition, adding the draft bill had to be a useful guide to shape the recovery effort. Well, at least they're using their brains. I really love it when human beings use their brains. When they see that there are multiple problems afoot and they're going to have a coordinated effort engaging multiple problems at the same time. This is wonderful, wonderful bit of common sense. This law offers us an incredible opportunity to debate about the country that we want to be, she said. Under the law, which still needs to be approved by Parliament, the government is pledging to make Spain's electricity system 100% renewable by the middle of the century. I see where this is going. 100% renewable by the middle of the century, ban all new coal, oil, gas extraction projects with immediate effect, end direct fossil fuel subsidies and make all new vehicles emissions free by 2040. Okay. I mean, maybe they're just trying to be realistic. I don't know. Maybe 2030 is not realistic, but this has a lot of Green New Deal isms all over it already. I can see they're talking about rebuilding the infrastructure and rebuilding, everybody's going to buy new cars that don't spew any emissions. That's wonderful. To reach its 2050 goal, the government has proposed interim targets through its national energy and climate plans to 2030. Alrighty. Well, so, this is, at least they're thinking about the problem and they're trying. This feels awful tepid to me, but it feels like a lot of, nice words is what it feels like to me. A lot of really cool ideas, that's what it feels like. Ooh, this is going to be great. But the actual implementation of these changes and what they will mean for the climate and what they'll mean for people, I don't really understand. What kind of, really large effect that's going to have. Gene says, time for plan B, basic survival. Jeff Bezos will invite us all to live on the moon, says Scott Andrews. Yeah. They want to build and relive the past. Right. I mean, this whole Brave New World vision is, it seems really awesome. It really does. I mean, it sounds just great. The question is it going to do anything for climate change? Is the question. Is it really going to have an effect on the effect that humans have on the planet? Is it really going to do anything about that? I was reading through, yesterday I was just talking about this article, Planet of the Anti-Humanists, and I was reading through it just a little bit, but there are parts in here that are actually laughable. I'm just going to read a little bit because, have a chuckle at this. In a swerve towards Malthusian politics of degrowth. Oh my God, no, they're not saying degrowth. And remarkably, even embracing the fringe ideology of anti-civilization. Oh my God, that's us. Guys, we're on the fringe. Help, we're over here on the fringe. Somebody help us. Planet of the Humans declares that the problems caused by industrial civilization cannot be solved by industrial civilization. No shit. Brainiac? Who is this? Lee Phillips? Jesus, you are just full of brains, guy. Progress is a dangerous myth, the film argues. There are too many humans consuming too much stuff, so everyone in developed countries, including the working class, needs to consume less, while the planet as a whole must be depopulated down to a more sustainable number. Whoa, whoa! Help! Get me off this crazy machine. Oh my God, Michael Moore, you're a nut job. I can't even take you seriously anymore, Michael Moore. For all of Michael Moore's many and generous contributions to progressive and humanist politics over the decades, such arguments are, well, literally anti-progressive and anti-human. Well, okay, that's it. I can't even do any more. I'm going to leave it there, but that is just hilarious. Oh my God, this if you're not a human supremacist, then this wouldn't be such a big deal. If you weren't a out and out speciesist, if you just, if you didn't believe that humans were just here to, prosper and procreate. I mean, because that's literally what you sound like. That we have dominion over the earth, and that's just how it is. Basil Peterson, Malthusians are old. Hey guys, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. You can also support the channel at the links below. PayPal, Square, and Patreon. Also, all of my live streams are available for listening on Patreon if you happen to miss them during the day. So you can sign up for my Patreon for as little as $1. If you want to go check out the live streams, they are all there. Thanks a lot.